Number 1. The Phoenix Lights, 1997. One of the most well-known and widely reported UFO sightings took place in Phoenix, Arizona, on March 13, 1997. Thousands of people across a large swath of the state, including Phoenix itself, reported seeing a formation of lights in the sky. What makes the Phoenix Lights particularly noteworthy is the sheer volume of witnesses, ranging from civilians to former military personnel, and the physical evidence left behind in some instances. On that evening, starting around 7:30 p.m., a series of bright lights appeared over the valley. Many observers described seeing a V-shaped or triangular formation of lights that moved slowly across the sky. Witnesses reported that the lights were silent and that the object appeared to be massive, with some estimating it was as large as a football field. The lights were described as white, and some witnesses said they had a reddish hue. The U.S. military later claimed that the lights were flares dropped by aircraft conducting military exercises at the Barry M. Goldwater Range. However, many witnesses, including trained observers like pilots and former military personnel, disagreed with this explanation. They pointed out that the lights did not behave like typical flares, which fall and drift. Instead, the lights remained stationary or moved in ways that defied normal flight patterns. In the years following the sighting, numerous documentaries and investigations have been conducted, and a number of whistleblowers, including former military personnel, have spoken out, claiming that they believed the Phoenix Lights were indeed a UFO. The ambiguity of the official explanation and the number of credible witnesses have kept the Phoenix Lights one of the most discussed and debated UFO events in history. Number 2. Rendlesham Forest, 1980. Rendlesham Forest, located in Suffolk, England, is the site of one of the most mysterious and well-documented UFO incidents in history. Between December 26 and 28, 1980, several U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at RAF Woodbridge, a NATO base, reported witnessing strange lights and a craft of unknown origin. The incident is often referred to as Britain's Roswell, given its eerie similarities to the famous 1947 Roswell UFO crash in the United States. The encounter began on the night of December 26th, when U.S. Air Force patrolmen reported seeing strange lights descending into the Rendlesham Forest. When a group of military personnel went to investigate, they encountered a glowing, triangular craft near a clearing. The craft was described as being metallic, with lights on its surface, and it emitted a brilliant light. Over the next 2 nights, additional witnesses, both military personnel and civilian contractors, reported seeing the lights again. Some described strange phenomena, including electrical malfunctions and odd physical sensations when in close proximity to the object. One of the most chilling elements of the event was the report of a landing site in the forest, where 3 indentations were found on the ground, alongside radiation readings that were higher than normal. Credibility of the witnesses. What sets the Rendlesham Forest case apart from other UFO sightings is the number of highly trained, credible witnesses. The incident was investigated by the UK Ministry of Defence and by US Air Force personnel. Several of the primary witnesses, including Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, have stood by their accounts for decades, and there is substantial evidence supporting their claims, including official reports and audio recordings of the events as they unfolded. Though no definitive explanation has been offered, the Rendlesham Forest case remains one of the most credible and intriguing UFO sightings on record. Number 3. The 1961 Betty and Barney Hill abduction. The Betty and Barney Hill abduction case is one of the first widely publicized reports of an alien abduction and remains one of the most significant in UFO lore. In 1961, the Hills, a married couple from New Hampshire, reported being abducted by extraterrestrials while driving home from a vacation in Canada. The case was groundbreaking because of the detailed and consistent nature of the couple's recollections under hypnosis, as well as the physical evidence they claimed to have experienced. On the night of September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving on a rural highway near Franconia Notch, New Hampshire, when they saw a bright light in the sky. Initially, they thought it was a plane, but as it approached, it became clear that the object was not an aircraft. According to their accounts, the object descended and hovered above their car before they lost consciousness. The next thing they remembered was being miles down the road with no idea how they had gotten there. Over the following days, the Hills experienced disturbing dreams and flashbacks. After seeking medical help, they were referred to a psychiatrist, and under hypnosis, both Betty and Barney independently recalled being taken aboard a UFO. The couple described being examined by humanoid beings with large dark eyes and grayish skin. Psychological and physical evidence. What makes the Hill case so compelling is the combination of their consistent testimonies under hypnosis, physical evidence, such as strange marks on their skin and on their car, and corroborating details from their hypnotic sessions. For instance, Betty Hill later drew a star map that she claimed had been shown to her by the aliens. Years later, some UFO researchers argued that the map resembled a constellation system that was not known to Earth at the time of the encounter. Despite skeptics claiming the Hill's story could have been a product of stress or misidentification, the Hill case remains a cornerstone of the UFO abduction narrative. Number 4. The Westall UFO, 1966. The Westall UFO sighting took place on April 6, 1966, in Melbourne, Australia, and is one of the largest UFO sightings in the Southern Hemisphere. It involved over 200 witnesses, including school children and teachers from the Westall Primary School, who saw a flying object hover over the school grounds before rapidly ascending and disappearing into the sky. The case is remarkable, not just for the number of witnesses, but for the strong government response to suppress information about the sighting. On the morning of April 6th, around 11 a.m., students and teachers at Westall Primary School noticed a silver saucer-shaped object in the sky. The object was described as being silent and moving in a way that defied conventional aircraft movements. Over a period of several minutes, the UFO allegedly hovered, performed erratic maneuvers, and then shot off at an incredible speed. It was also seen by residents in nearby areas. Several witnesses reported seeing military jets appear shortly after the sighting, possibly in an attempt to intercept the object. The Australian government, as well as local authorities, initially dismissed the event as a misidentification of a weather balloon, but many of the witnesses remained adamant that what they saw was far more extraordinary. In the years since, the Westall UFO has become one of the most well-documented and well-known UFO sightings in Australia, with several of the original witnesses, now adults, coming forward to discuss their experiences in interviews and documentaries. Number 5. The 2004 USS Princeton and USS Nimitz UFO Encounter in November 2004, a series of UFO encounters were reported by military personnel aboard the USS Princeton and USS Nimitz, part of the U.S. Navy's Carrier Strike Group. The sightings were documented by multiple radar operators, fighter pilots, and other members of the military. The events were so significant that they were later declassified and have been the subject of intense scrutiny by both UFO researchers and the U.S. government. The encounter began on November 14, 2004, when radar operators aboard the USS Princeton detected unusual objects in the airspace over the Gulf of Mexico. These objects appeared to be traveling at incredible speeds and making maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. Fighter pilots were dispatched to investigate, and they reported seeing a series of fast-moving, tic-tac-shaped objects that hovered and darted across the sky at astonishing speeds. In interviews with military personnel, including Navy pilot Commander David Fravor, many of them described the objects performing maneuvers that they were unable to replicate with their own aircraft, such as sudden accelerations, sharp turns, and instantaneous shifts in direction. Fravor's encounter, in particular, was widely reported, as he described a close-up encounter with the UFO. The USS Princeton continued to track the objects for several days, and the encounters were captured on video by the fighter pilots. These videos, released by the Pentagon in 2017, have since been widely circulated, reigniting interest in UFO phenomena and government disclosure.